Hey everyone, and welcome to the Defining Your Life podcast, where we focus on living in our purpose, practicing presence, and activating our power in each moment. I'm Marsharelle, your resident pep talk provider, and I invite you to join me as we continue to learn, lift each other up, and strive to level up together. Because we are never finished defining our lives, and it takes a village, so let's build one. Stay tuned for the episode. Hey everyone, I hope that you had a wonderful week and a wonderful Easter. And if you were on spring break, I pray that you were able to spend some time with those who are important to you. I'm so very grateful that I was able to take a few days off and spend some time with my family, which was really just a beautiful reminder of how priceless love, relationships, and time really are. But also, it's just a reminder of how important it is that we refresh ourselves more often than we think we need or allow ourselves to, and that we really need to be intentional about doing so whenever we can, and if you can't take a few days off, aim consistently for a few hours at minimum, because it all adds up and makes an impact, right? Like I have been so tired. And it's just, once you get to that point, it's just so hard to recuperate. I know I've mentioned that in the past, but, today I went back to work and I was like, am I refreshed? Is that a thing? I forgot what it felt like. Now, last week we had a rewind episode, mainly because I was on vacation, but it was an opportune time to rewind the episode, What's with Imposter Syndrome. And the reason that I chose that episode is because I really just find that women struggle greatly with this issue, right? And as we were closing out Women's History Month, I wanted to remind us all as women that we have already proven ourselves. We have the skills, we have the talent, and we've been exercising those skills and displaying those talents on a regular basis. And yet we still somehow manage to shrink ourselves by saying that we aren't worthy or we aren't up to par. And it's simply not true. And so I just want to remind all of us to walk in our greatness. And that doesn't mean that we don't continue to improve or continue to try to do better, but it does mean that we are allowing ourselves to acknowledge all that we are right now. So let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. And by that, I mean back to the B series that we started a few episodes ago. And this week, I want to talk about being soft. Now, we've been talking about being confident, being bold, walking in your greatness, as I just mentioned. And that may seem counterintuitive to the act of being soft. But in essence, our softness as women, right, is a weapon, a very good one that we often downplay because we don't want to show signs of weakness. But I want to ask the question, how did we determine that softness is weakness? If it were for the weak and less determined folk, right, then more of us would just inherently be soft. What we got to learn is how to be balanced in our approach to softness, right? Be balanced. That should probably be the title of a pod, right? Always thinking about what to talk about with all of you. And feel free to share your thoughts on what you want to talk about on here as well. You know how to reach me. Anyway, back to being soft. So I was just thinking, do y'all remember when everyone started talking about the soft girl era? Now I'm all for leaning heavily into that feminine aesthetic, right? And prioritizing oneself and, of course, one's mental health. But I believe that being able to incorporate the soft life as you maneuver through all areas in your life is key. And it's not only based on the boundaries that we set to protect ourselves, but also how we make decisions, perform our work and engage others overall. We can want all the soft things, the peace, the boundaries, etc. But are we reciprocating, putting that soft energy that we so desire back into the world to make it just a softer place for everyone? You can't be soft one way, I'll say. So, how then can we lead a holistically soft life? Well, let's first talk about personal relationships. We can be softer by listening and not being on the defensive all the time. I know for me personally that I continue to struggle with overcoming the undercurrent of defensiveness in my life. It impacts my reactions, and maybe it's just me. This might not resonate with any of y'all. It's probably not you, right? Maybe it is only just me. So I'm going to speak for myself only when I say that I need to stop always anticipating potentially having to defend myself when receiving information or am approaching new terrain or situations. And maybe I haven't even used defensive words, right? But what is my demeanor saying in the moment? And what is my body language saying? Body language speaks volumes as well. Does it say that I received the information that was shared with me? Or can people feel themselves crashing into that invisible shield that I've erected? Listening doesn't require much vulnerability. Well, it can in some instances, but it is always a display of respect and care for the person that you're listening to, right? And when we desire to be listened to, we want to be handled with the same care. So we need to provide that for others. Now, what's one way that we can be softer at work, you might ask, or really even just all around? The next thing that came to mind for me is tone. Particularly in matters of business, we always talk about how important it is to be direct. But it is possible to be direct without utilizing that firm, cold tone that, we might associate with someone that is direct. You don't have to be cold and standoffish to have respect. Now, being firm and cold can 100% yield the results that you're looking for. But if this is your approach, I would love to hear from you as to why. Why do you believe that it's a good practice or necessary to engage people in that way? In my experience, the message that you are trying to convey will almost always be more easily received if we can soften the blow, if you will. You like that play on words. Anyway, your softness is your human element, and no one wants to work for or with a robot. And you don't want folks glazing over when you're talking to them, right? Or rolling their eyes when they see that they have to take a meeting with you. You don't have to be fake about it, but be softer in your tone and be received well. Work is not only about being able to complete the task at hand. It's about the soft skills that may not be measurable in the same way those specific job related tasks are. It's those practices that make you the type of person that people want to work for and with. Those skills aren't always teachable by, your manager, your superior, or whoever, but they will require self-work, right? And tone is most certainly one of those things. But keep in mind that those skills may often make the difference between you and the next candidate, right? If you're going after a new job or a promotion or a contract, even as an entrepreneur. I once had a manager who would always say, I can teach you how to do the job, but I can't teach you the soft skills. So you may come into a space where you are only 60 or 70% qualified to perform a specific job. But while you learn the rest, right, those soft skills will carry you and they will grant you grace from the people that you're working with because you're a decent human being. So keep that in mind, tapping into your soft skills professionally. Okay, so how can we practice being softer with ourselves? Well, we can start by extending the same grace and gentleness that we demand from others to ourselves. Because even if you've somehow managed to convince the world to treat you gently, if you've set standards and put up a million boundaries, dressed yourself up in the daintiest florals, bathe yourself in the finest of fragrances, none of it will matter if you are unable to treat yourself in a way that reflects the life you want to live. But yes, of course, partake in all of the self-care rituals and feminine style and scents and all of the things that the soft era girlies speak of, those boundaries, mental health protection and so on and so forth. But in addition to that, and most importantly, treating ourselves the way we want others to treat us. When I see a bold, confident woman who has also been able to maintain her softness, I very much admire that combination because it means that she is balanced, right? Able to treat herself and others with respect, display empathy. She's still strong and can take on challenges, but she knows how to communicate healthily, directly, clearly, but without offense. And she knows who she is, and she doesn't shy away from sharing all facets of herself with the world. So I encourage you to be emboldened by softness, crack that hard exterior that you may have simply adopted, maybe even just based on account of someone else's experience. But you don't have to walk their path. You're walking your own. And it takes a lot more energy to keep that hard, cold shield up, charged and ready to go than it does to just be a bit softer in your approach. So try it out. What's one or two ways that you can implement softness in your life? Are you already practicing softness? And have you observed any, prominent changes in your life? Or if you desire to be softer, what are you hoping to gain from the practice of being soft? I'm simply sharing my thoughts here, but I would love to hear all of your perspectives on being a soft girl. Being a successful, soft woman, personally, professionally, it's going to take some work, but I believe it's worth it. And if you're in the over 40 club, you may be familiar with the narrative that we start to lose our filters, which is definitely true, but it doesn't mean that we can't embrace softness as well. So put down your defense weapons. This isn't war, it's life. And if you want to live it well, it can't be spent primarily on the lookout for everyone and everything that will do us harm, always anticipating the occurrence of those things that will inevitably harden us. So soften up and open yourself to the joy and peace you say that you desire. Make yourself available for it in your attitude, in your treatment of yourself and others, in your tone, and in the way that you view the world. Now, allow me to leave you with a few words from author Ian S. Thomas. Yes, a man. Be soft. Do not let the world make you hard. Do not let the pain make you hate. Do not let the bitterness steal your sweetness. Thanks so much for listening today. If you are enjoying the pod, drop me a line, leave a review. I love to hear from you. And people actually do read reviews, y'all, but they can't read them if you don't write them. And so I'm asking you to write them. Anyway, I can't wait to chat with you all again next week. Take care until then.